This episode is sponsored by Evolve Back Resorts.
Dear brothers and sisters, my topic for you is the promise of the Father. You see, in Luke chapter 24, verse 49, Jesus said, I am going to send you what my Father has promised, but stay in this city until you have been clothed with power from on high. Brothers and sisters, Jesus said these words to his disciples. You see, Jesus was preparing his disciples for the first Pentecost when he said, wait for the promise of the Father. And Jesus prepared his disciples for the passion, for his death, his resurrection, and also for the first Pentecost. You see, why this preparation was required? Why did Jesus say, wait for the promise of the Father? Because in John 16, verse 7, Jesus said, but very truly I tell you, it is for your good that I am going away. Unless I go away, the advocate will not come to you, but if I go, I will send him to you. You see, brothers and sisters, when Jesus announced this to the disciples that he had to go to send the Holy Spirit, it was a real shocking news to the disciples. They wanted Jesus to be with them forever. I can imagine the reaction of the disciples. I can imagine the reaction on the face of Peter. They must have said, what? We left everything and followed you, and now you are telling us that you are going to go away. Where do we go from here? Back home they didn't want to go to, because they knew if they went back home, people will ridicule them and people will laugh at them because they left everything to follow Jesus. And so they are stunned and they are surprised. But Jesus consoles the disciples saying, the Holy Spirit will do the same functions as he himself did. The Holy Spirit will do the same functions Jesus himself did. Jesus was physically with the disciples, but he did not possess the life of the disciples. Jesus said, the Holy Spirit that I'm going to send to you, he will possess your lives. He would live in them. My spirit will remain with you forever, said Jesus. That's why, brothers and sisters, you know what's the good news? The good news is there is no more waiting now. We don't wait for the Holy Spirit. The disciples had to wait for the Holy Spirit because Jesus was preparing them for the first Pentecost. And after the first Pentecost, there is no more waiting. The promise got fulfilled on the first Pentecost. The Holy Spirit came upon the 120 disciples as recorded in Acts chapter 2, 1 to 11. The Holy Spirit came upon them. They had to wait for the promise of the Father. That is why, brothers and sisters, no more waiting. And that is so good for us because the Holy Spirit dwells in every single Christian now. The Holy Spirit dwells in every single Catholic. Through baptism, all Catholics have received the Holy Spirit. And therefore, the good news for you and for me is there is no more waiting. We don't have to wait for the Holy Spirit. We don't have to say, come Holy Spirit, come. The Holy Spirit dwells within every single Christian. Sisters and brothers, Jesus is called Emmanuel, God with us. The Holy Spirit is not called Emmanuel. The Holy Spirit is called Paraclete, which means the constant, abiding presence of God. The Holy Spirit dwells within us. So when he dwells within us, he is also with us. And that is the important thing that we should reflect on. The Holy Spirit dwells within every one of us. You see, the Feast of Pentecost is a reminder to us that the Holy Spirit dwells in every single Christian and Catholic. Jesus said in John chapter 14, verse 16 and 17, "And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to help you and to be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you." This is the promise that Jesus made to the disciples, that the Holy Spirit will dwell in every single person. Romans chapter 8 verse 9, St. Paul is bringing the same truth. "However, you are not in the flesh but in the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of God dwells in you." St. Paul consistently in all his epistles is bringing this truth to us, that the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, is dwelling in each one of our lives. We don't have to wait for him anymore. He is within us. God is in us. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 16, again St. Paul is saying, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you?" Friends, brothers and sisters, our bodies are the temple of the living God. Temple, the Greek word for temple means shrine. We know what a shrine is. A shrine is where the presence of God is there. God is in us. The presence of God is in us. The Holy Spirit is the presence of God in our lives. Let me give an example to show you how important this truth is for us, that the Holy Spirit dwells within us. Let me give an example of a car. Just imagine, brothers and sisters, of a beautiful car, a Ferrari car, red in color. It has got beautiful tires. It's got beautiful, upholstery. It's got beautiful tinted glasses. It's got a nice air conditioning system. It has got nice music system, but it has no engine. Can you imagine? A car that does not have an engine is useless. Useless. Even if it has an engine, if it does not work, it's useless. The Holy Spirit is like that engine in our lives. Engine in our lives. The engine is there. The Holy Spirit dwells within us. But we need to stir up the Holy Spirit. We need to stir him up. We need to start the engine. Because when you start the engine, the car will move. You see, the engine drives the car. The engine gives power to the car. The engine gives a thrust to the car. Thrust to the car. The engine moves the car. Same way the Holy Spirit. When the Holy Spirit is stirred up in our lives, then our lives will become meaningful, purposeful. The Holy Spirit will drive our lives, bring more meaning to our lives. He'll give power to our lives. He'll give thrust to our life. He'll bring new meaning to our life, because the Holy Spirit, which is like an engine, is working. I would like to call this the awakening of God. In 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 6, St. Paul is saying, "I remind you to stir up the gift of God which is in you." I remind you to stir up the gift of God which is in you. So the Pentecost today is all about the stirring up of the gift of God that is within you. No more waiting. Let me give an example. Imagine, brothers and sisters, I have a cup of tea. I put a teaspoon of sugar. I give it to drink. How will the tea taste? It will be tasteless. What must I do? I must stir the sugar. When I stir the sugar, you know what will happen? The sugar flavors the tea. And then I drink the tea and I say, "Wow, Taj, how wonderful, tasty, so nice." Same with us. The Holy Spirit that is in us, we have to stir the Holy Spirit. It will flavor your life. Life will become more meaningful. That's what Jesus said in John 10:10. "I come that you may have life, and life in its abundance." Because when you only stir up the Holy Spirit, He'll awaken. He'll awaken in your life, and life will become meaningful. Brothers and sisters, if you don't pray to the Holy Spirit will become dormant in your life. He is there in our lives. He dwells within us. He will never leave us, but he'll become dormant. You will never hear the voice of the Lord. You will never hear the voice of the Holy Spirit. He cannot lead you. He cannot teach you. He cannot guide you, because the Holy Spirit is dormant. So, how to awaken? how to awaken the Holy Spirit, how to stir up the Holy Spirit, I want to teach you a simple prayer. You see, you should develop a relationship with the Holy Spirit, brothers and sisters. Pentecost is after that only. If you read the Acts of the Apostles, you will find the early Christians had an amazing relationship with the Holy Spirit. So I want to tell you, 3 lines. If you start praying these 3 lines to the Holy Spirit that is within you, if the Holy Spirit is dormant in your life, he'll awaken. And once he awakens, it's like starting the engine. And once the engine starts, the car will move, your life will move, all God's plan, all God's purposes will be accomplished in your life. And what are the 3 lines? Holy Spirit, I love you. Holy Spirit, be my helper. Holy Spirit, take control of my life. Brothers and sisters, every morning, if you can pray morning, noon, night, I pray 10 times a day, 20 times a day. Holy Spirit, I love you. Holy Spirit, be my helper. Holy Spirit, take control of my life. The Holy Spirit, when I say, Holy Spirit, I love you, the Holy Spirit will tell me, I love you too. That's how a relationship starts. It's a love relationship. Christianity is a love relationship. If you tell the Holy Spirit today, I love you, Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit within you will say, I love you. And the Holy Spirit will get stirred up. The Holy Spirit will awaken. That's the power of the Holy Spirit within you. Holy Spirit, I love you. Holy Spirit, be my helper. And Holy Spirit, take control of my life. So my dear brothers and sisters, you see, this is the power of the Holy Spirit. When he is within you, it is so amazing what the Holy Spirit will do for you. He'll become alive. The presence of God will come alive. What does it mean? Wherever you go, the presence of God will go with you. How beautiful, isn't it? You don't have to pray to the Lord, say, Lord, come with me. He is in you. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. You don't have to pray and say, Lord, I want to experience your presence anymore. No. Why? Because the presence of God is within you. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. You're God's dwelling place. God dwells in you. How wonderful, isn't it? God is in us. When you know this truth, brothers and sisters, that God is in you, your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, God is in you, your search for God will end. Your search for God will end. Why? God is in you. You don't have to search for God anymore. A Catholic does not have to search for God anymore because God is in you. If you have to search for God, you have to search for God within you. If the Holy Spirit becomes dormant, pray these 3 lines. Holy Spirit, I love you. Holy Spirit, be my helper. Holy Spirit, take control of my life. You will be amazed, sisters and brothers. You will be amazed what will happen to your life. Your life will transform. You will be truly living like a Christian, and all the promises and all the plans of God will be fulfilled in your life. You know what the Holy Spirit will do when he's alive and awakened and stirred up in your life? He will teach you and guide you. He will teach you and guide you. You don't have to rely on anything else. Pray to the Holy Spirit. Psalm 32 verse 8 says, He will teach you and guide you in the way you should go. And He told me, for me to, I was praying about this full-time ministry many years back in the year 1988. I waited on the Lord. I prayed to the Holy Spirit. And after 4 years, so beautifully, the Holy Spirit whispered. He told me, this is the plan I have for you. I could take this step. This is the way. Walk in it. As Isaiah says. So it's very important to acknowledge God in all that we do in our lives. He will also, He will make your health fruitful. The Holy Spirit, you see, when the Holy Spirit is alive in your life, awakened in your life, what will happen to you, brothers and sisters? Divine health will flow into your life. Divine health. You will never fall sick. I have not fallen sick. I am not on a single medication in my life. Because when your soul is prosperous, physically also you will do well. You see, 3 John chapter 1 verse 2 says, Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. See what John is saying. John is saying, when your soul is getting on well, you will physically get on well too. Your body will improve. Your health will improve. So what must you do for a divine health? Pray more to the Holy Spirit. He'll awaken. His presence comes into your life and you will enjoy divine health in your life. You see, in Romans chapter 8 verse 11, St. Paul is saying, if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you. He who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies because of his Spirit who lives in you. St. Paul is saying the same Holy Spirit that lives, the same Holy Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is living in you. He will bring life to your mortal body. And so, brothers and sisters, pray to the Holy Spirit daily. Holy Spirit, I love you. Holy Spirit, be my helper. Holy Spirit, take control of my life. Establish a beautiful relationship with the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit dwells within you. And this is not a one-year experience, because this is not a one-year experience. This is a daily, continual experience. So, brothers and sisters, the good news is no more waiting. No more waiting for the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is in you. Stir him up. Fan into flame the gift of God that is within you. Awaken the Holy Spirit by praying to the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit will take complete control of your life.